on another world. And I mean, that's amazing enough. But what I want to know is, how would you design a robot for a place like a Tatooine or a desert world? Because what do you look for when you're designing for Mars? Because in a lot of respects, it's like a Jakoo or something like that.
I mean, you could argue a little bit about the power source and everything else. We use nuclear power sources for the most recent rover and the next generation rover, and solar power for previous ones. But yeah, I think there's obviously some similarities between Mars and Tatooine or Jakoo. I couldn't tell you how much solar flux Jakoo is getting. It looks pretty light, so it looks like Earth, a fair amount of light. So you can have a power source like that, and then for us, we've kind of come up with a novel rocker bogie 6-wheel configuration system, which I could tell you about, or I could use my first phoner friend of the day, Steve Lee. Come on down. We're sitting like right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Come up on
Steve actually still works on the Curiosity. So I work on another mission called Europa now, but Steve can tell you a lot more about driving Curiosity around because he actually gets to do it still.
Shoot. Yeah. You just met, but go for it.
Well, Curiosity actually is able to drive herself quite a bit. So we are able to designate a target, and she's able to take little baby steps, take imagery, and figure out what the terrain looks like, and pick her own way through rock hazards, and make her way across.
Curiosity is a girl, canon.
Generally, we call our rovers girls after girls.
Win.
Absolutely.
As established. Here. Great. Please go on.
She's not in a hurry, however, so generally we'll drive something like 20 to 100 meters a day. It depends a lot on the terrain.
Wow.
So, but mentioning Tatooine, Jakoo, Mars is very similar, except probably Mars is a lot colder, because it's a lot colder than can sustain humans. It gets down to about 150 degrees below zero, and that becomes a real driver for the power systems that Bobak was talking about. So not only do we have the onboard nuclear power source, which sounds great, wah, 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 except the thing only puts on about 100 watts.
Wow.
So she sleeps at night, charges up the battery, and taps into that battery during the day to do her driving and other activities.
And she's basically in first gear the whole time. So we drive pretty much thinking that we could always encounter a rock or something that we need to climb.
Did you say first gear?
First gear, yeah.
Does she have more gears?
No, we don't have that.
Like 1 mile an hour, that's it.
Yeah, she really gets going. She tops out about 250. I don't know. It depends on if you're on the Autobahn or not. We don't open her up too much, but she's great.
So what are the pros and cons of sending BB-8?
I am asking the questions.
You put me on a
I know you're excited. I didn't know you were showing up. This is great. So many firsts. Let's dig in a little bit more, because since you're here, thank you for being here. Thanks for telling me a little bit. How would you?
By the way, I have more phone friends in the audience, so we're just.
Oh yeah. Let's, there's no more microphones. So some science communicators, I won't mention any names, but he doesn't know that bats aren't blind, or that sometimes sex hurts. Go on Twitter, you get it. Is something like BB-8, adorable little roving ball unit, is that a good design for a robot? And what would it be? If not, what would it be suited for?
Oh, so I think the first thing about BB-8 that looked like what I see is a robot that has a pretty low kind of kinetic friction going on. So there's a very little surface contact area to the ground, which you can kind of imagine is like a train wheel on a train track with a very little contact area. So I'd actually imagine BB-8 would be great for going really fast over kind of big, flat, even terrains. I'm not sure how great it would be over slopes on a kind of a sandy terrain, because that stuff gives out pretty well. I think Curiosity tops out at 20-ish degrees or so.
More like about 15 these days.
Yeah. And even our best opportunity now is around 15, and they were slipping about 50% of the time. So for every 2 meters they'd go forward, they'd slip back a meter. So it's pretty rough traveling even in a wheeled vehicle. And that has ours has decent traction. Although I guess the other thing to point out is Curiosity's wheels, talk to Steve more, they have a lot of surface area because we want to float over sand.
They do, yeah. They're a little wider, So they're meant to try to float a little above sand, like Bob had said. And then they have cleats, because you encounter all kinds of terrain. You encounter really slippery sand, matter of fact, more slippery than you see out in the Southern California deserts. But at the same time, you get into really rugged, harsh rocks that you need to climb over. So you have to find a balance of both. So wheels that can handle the really rugged rocks and work their way over them, but also have these cleats, these little rousers on them, we call them, that can kind of paddle their way a little bit through the sand and get a little bit of traction out of it.
So what would BB-8 be well suited to do, if not, going around the sand, sandy deserts of Jakoo, probably not the optimal conditions for a robot like that. What might be?
That's a good question. I was thinking actually just now how difficult it would be to brake, because you have a little contact area with the ground and you just keep skidding along and sliding after you stop going fast. But I can imagine that if you could put something in the center of it that was relatively balanced, you could get it going pretty fast and keep it moving very fast with very little energy required to do it. So kind of a long, slow acceleration, but then wants to keep moving for a very long time.
Robot.
Maybe like mapping out terrain, but we do that in other ways, so that's not.
Maybe robot horse racing. And BB-8's coming down the track.
The problem I see is how BB-8 goes uphill, because like on steep hills. Because the way that it works is so if you imagine like a basketball or something sitting on the ground, and if you came over and just like stuck a weight to the side, it's going to roll so that weight goes further down. It goes, the center of gravity goes further down, more toward the ground. So if you've got something inside of BB-8, like this sphere, that you can move around inside, you can make it unbalanced so it starts rolling in that direction, even though you're not moving anything outside of BB-8. So if you're on a slope, and you've got your sphere and you want to move this way, like as you move that weight up, it doesn't work nearly as well to get it going uphill. So it seems like a pretty bad design.
But what would it be good for? Stand up for the little robot. Okay, fine, I will. In your carpet on a Star Destroyer. Flat metal surfaces. Probably some traction treads down there for stormtroopers, no problem.
It doesn't vacuum, so you might have to
it can give you lighter high fives. High fives, thumbs up.
Look, this is a civilization that can make plasma beams contained with magnetic field. Like it's got the Force, it's got lots of tools. We can save BB-8, all right? There's a way to do it where